Welcome to CSGuitars, the science of loud. Today I'm going to be re-recording a metal track I wrote about 15 years ago, but without using any amplifiers, pedals or plugins. I'm only going to be using sounds directly from this guitar. This is the GTRS P800, the new professional model with a slew of high-end features including stainless steel frets, locking tuners, a very classy Wilkinson bridge, noiseless single coils, a slippery tusk nut, an American alder body finished in a delightful flamingo pink, and a baked flame maple neck topped in a beautiful rosewood fingerboard adorned with abalone inlays. And of course the secret weapon of these guitars is the built-in AMPS and multi-effects processor, meaning I can create all the sounds I need for headphone practice, or going through my power amp and cab setup, or for direct recording. I've previously done a video on the GTRS S801, the standard maple fingerboard model, and you might be wondering where the differences are other than the price tag. Well, here are the specs of each instrument on screen for you to pause and compare. The biggest differences are in the materials and hardware, with the Pro model ending up a good bit lighter and also having a slimmer, more comfortable neck. The bridge has a nicer action. The locking tuners will make string changes easier and slightly quicker, and the whole thing is just more pleasurable to play, demonstrating exactly what you're paying for when you plump for a professional guitar. It's all about getting a better playing experience. I previously had a complaint about the string tree on the standard model. The original string tree was far too low and caused problems for tuning stability and string breakage, forcing me to trade it out for a better one. There are no such problems on the headstock of the professional model. We have a low friction roller tree installed as standard, and the locking tuner posts are of staggered heights, meaning they get shorter as they go up the headstock, modifying the string angle over the nut, keeping everything at the height that it should be at. A self-lubricating tusk nut will also assist in making sure the strings don't catch and always return to pitch. Now I must hasten to assure you that while this guitar does have a built-in multi-effects processor, that doesn't mean you have to use it. With the processor turned off, you can plug this guitar directly into your normal amplifier or effects chain and it will operate just like any other guitar. With the multi-effects turned on, this gives me access to a number of preset sounds, none of which I'm particularly interested in using, which is where the app comes in. The app connects the multi-effects processor in the guitar via Bluetooth and allows me to edit and save all the sounds back to the guitar. I've created 4 new sounds which I'll use to record my metal track. 2 rhythm tones, 1 lead, and 1 clean. This is where I've cheated a little bit and turned off all of the internal cabinet simulations, as speakers are perhaps the most influential part of the whole sound, and I want the ability to control the speaker sound in post when I'm mixing the track. Fortunately, the app allows me to easily choose which parts of the signal chain to turn on and off. I can mute the cabinets, any of the effects that I don't want to use, or even turn off the amp itself if I wanted. First, I have my clean sound, which will be used to add texture to some sections of the track. It has a compressor, a chorus, and a digital delay. Rhythm Sound 1 is a Soldano style amp with a Klon boost, a noise gate and a subtle tri-chorus to give some thickness to the sound, a trick used in a lot of 80s metal tones. second rhythm tone is based off of my orange AD30 with a Tube Screamer boost. Both of these rhythm tones should mesh well together in a mix. And finally the lead sound, which is a higher gain version of my orange rhythm tone, but with some slow phaser and a tape delay. Now, it can be pretty easy for people to pick apart digital amp simulations when heard in isolation like this, but it's worth remembering that these sounds have been designed to work together in a mix with multiple layers of guitars, bass, and drums, and sometimes that's going to sound a little bit odd when you hear it on its own. I'm also not here to pretend that the sound generated by the GTRS are the pinnacle of what DSP can produce. These are probably better suited to headphone practice or emergency backup scenarios, but I do think with the right amount of tweaking, the processor sounds can create some compelling guitar tones for live and recording mixes, especially in situations where we may wish to forego connecting our guitar to outboard amps and effects. A little history on this metal track then. It's one of the earlier song ideas I came up with when first getting into guitar. The main riff is built around what I consider to be a spider fingering technique, a quick way of crossing strings using my middle and pinky fingers to play a power chord on the strings lower than where my index and ring fingers are positioned. Trying to jump that 1 fret 1 string position can be a bit messy and difficult, especially at speed, so utilising these idle fingers to do that instead makes it a much quicker and cleaner chord change. There are also a number of harmonising parts between two guitars, which is something I've always loved, being a fan of Thin Lizzy and Iron Maiden. Honestly, it's a pretty simple musical idea, but I do like to come back to it every now and then, record a new version and see the little things that change. It's called The Shrinking Man, after the Richard Matheson book of the same name, a sci-fi story from the 1950s where a radioactive incident causes a man to gradually shrink in size, eventually getting trapped in his basement, pursued by a spider which towers over him, and haunted by the terrifying realisation that he has only days left until he shrinks into non-existence. As upgrades to basic guitars go, this is how it should be done. It really shows how improving the materials, hardware and parts can really elevate the field performance and to some degree the sound of an instrument. Even if you aren't a fan of the built-in multi-effects, which admittedly are a major selling point here, the guitar alone stands up in this price range. Besides, having a multi-effects headphone practice situation one click away right there built into the guitar is major convenience for practicing around the house or at unsocial hours, or before a show, or when travelling around. If you want to find out more about the GTRS guitars and the current prices, then links will be in the description underneath this video. And don't forget to click all the buttons you're supposed to make this one viable to the ever-changing whims of the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. Keep it loud and stay safe. "15 years later and I still suck at guitar."